Welcome to another edition of Voice of the Diaspora. In studio with me today are the regional chairman of Region 10, Mr. Deron Adams, Region 10 MP, Mr. Devin Sears, and the regional vice chairman, Mr. Mark Goring. The PPP faced excruciating public embarrassment at Linden yesterday after trying to hijack the Mashramani celebrations to show it as the support of the people of Linden. The PPP machinations, including withholding funds from the local organizers for the event, falsely advertising the location where revelers would go to celebrate, and breaking its promise to provide water and food for revelers, among other despicable subversive acts. Sports Minister Charles Ramson and his surrogates at Linden identified the Christianburg Hard Court as the assembly point, while the rightful organizers had initially chosen the Beira Community Center as a location for revelers to gather. What transpired yesterday was devastating to the PPP, and it clearly showed that their One Guyana mantra is a fake. What they intend to do is to divide people for their own personal support and gain. I have here our guests, Mr. Devin Sears, Member of Parliament, Region 10 Chairman, Regional Chairman, Mr. Deron Adams, and of course, for the first time on this program, a young hotshot, Regional Vice Chairman, Mr. Mark Goring. I want to welcome you guys to the program.
Norman,
Thank you.
Okay, so for the viewers, we are getting a bit of static and so on in the background, but I truly hope that it will get better as the show progresses. I want to start with the regional chairman of Region 10. Regional chairman, tell our viewers what is Mashramani, where it started, when it started, how it started.
All right, thank you, Norman, and good viewers. As you know, Mashramani would have originated right in 10, and celebration and all, of course, it received national coverage some years ago. Here we celebrated our 53rd anniversary. And it's, of course, everyone knows that which is celebration after a job well done or after hard work. And so the commemoration committee of the RDC, every year, as you would have heard me mention from time after time, of the 9 councils work diligently to ensure that the required submissions are made and that they are consistent with what is being had. National observance, whether it's something that we are celebrating closer to home, whether it's the Sun Chapman or the Linden Mash. So the people of Region 10 look to us at the passage of time whenever that opportunity comes around, once a year. And so Mashramani is no different. What would have been happening since January, in the case of the celebration, is that we would have engaged the administration to find out what plans for Mashramani, because we were advised that previous councils would have been notified for November of committee being put in place specifically to deal with cash. All
You
the
are
specific.
you are breaking up there. We could hardly hear you. You're really breaking up there. That's Regional Chairman of Region 10, Mr. Deron Adams. There,
Yeah,
yeah, we can't hear you. If you
some,
can,
are you hearing me? Let me log out and come back in.
no, no, I can hear you now. I can hear you now. I think there was a problem. There was a problem.
Hold a second.
Yes, we're getting a bit of static there. Um, if you can log out and come back in, that would be
Uh,
fine.
let me log out.
Let me go to the member of parliament of Region 10, Mr. Devin Sears, who is no stranger to organizing events, social activities, and so on. Of course, he has a lot of experience in that area of organizing. Uh, Devin Sears, Mashramani, when did it start? Where did it start? What is it about? For the sake of the viewers, before we go into the meat of the program, give our viewers an idea of what MASH really is.
Okay, so Mashramani, which is an Amerindian word, it simply means celebration after hard work. It originated and started here. It was birthed here. Is we own. Started here of course, in the 1970. So we would have been having Mashramani for 53 years to mark our country's republic, and we moved from having it here based in Linden year after year. Of course, it grew to becoming an extraordinary national event, which is celebrated across the country. But now the main activities are more central in Georgetown. But as the leaders within Region 10, we have fought so hard, even during the 23 years with PPP in government, and then with the stint of AP and UAFC, and now the PPP back in government. It seems for all those years that PPP has been running the administrative arm of the RDC, and in government, they've always grossly underfunded Mashramani in Linden, its birthplace. And and I'm going to go in a little bit more in the show to show you how the budgetary allocations nationally reflects or does not reflect true patriotism of this government. So with this figure here, we show a clear indication that look, the government don't care about Linden and its Mashramani or its heritage or celebration. They don't care about creating economic opportunities for all other than themselves or their cronies and people who are aligned to them. And that is what brought us to this point. And they don't respect democracy. You have elected officials at the RDC who's representing the people. They were elected by the people, and they're not making decisions by themselves. They're constantly consulting and engaging their constituencies and arriving with decisions that will ultimately benefit the people. So it's not they're not just going against the RDC and its councillors, the chairman and vice chair, but they're going against the will of the people. And the buck needs to stop. And we're putting a stop to it here in Linden Region.
Wonderful, wonderful. Regional Chairman, there has been some concerns about the way the Mashramani was conducted at Linden. The people are saying that there seem to have been two Mashramani at Linden, and that the PPP would have gone to Linden to show in their participation that they are getting full support from Lindeners, and therefore they provided a location that had nothing to do with the location that the local organizers would have identified. Give us an insight into this. What has really been happening?
So, thank you for that.
Yes, I can hear you, but you're breaking up a bit. Go ahead.
Um, nutshell, just mentioned, I believe the PPP, as we have mentioned, they're seeking to control the RDCs. You would have seen what occurred in Region 4, lifted, and they're doing that in the RDC in which the people
If you can move a bit closer to the phone, that would be fine because you're really breaking up. We can't hear you properly. It's just breaking up.
and get corruption. Let me
I
come off of internet and just go
I
straight
can hear
on
you
my.
clearly now. I can hear you clearly now. What have you done there? I can hear you clearly.
I'm not sure why.
No, we're hearing you clearly now. If you stay
All
that
right,
way,
so,
go ahead. We're
all right.
hearing.
So let me just say what I was mentioning a few minutes ago.
Yes.
What we've been experiencing here in Region 10 is one where the PPP is seeking to control and dominate the RDCs, in which the people rejected them and voted overwhelmingly for the APNU AFC at the last general elections. You're seeing what people are experiencing in Region 4. Region 10 is experiencing the same thing, and I'm sure Region 7 um, is experiencing the same thing. What they are doing is dividing the society, as is evident in what you would have witnessed yesterday at Mashramani. And further to say, you've seen one set of people being fired from their jobs, most Afro-Guyanese. And once you're a perceived supporter of the APNUFC, you automatically become the target of the administration of the day. And so they have now taken it to another level where they are now trying to control and dominate the entire RDC. Now, as you know, the Regional Democratic Council is the highest decision body in the region. It is the institution that sets the agenda, the of where the region should go in
Yes.
terms of policy, etc. And so what we are seeing is central government having a total disregard for the elected component of the council and overriding the council and the decision that the council made, and using their REOs to execute unlawful things within the region, not lawful decisions of the council. So, for example, the commemoration committee met in January. They reached out to the REO. They asked, can you share with us what are the plans for Mashramani at the national level and both at the regional level? At the time, the REO and the DREO had no information coming. They said they were not given any circular. And this was triggered because we saw a flyer circulating on social media that had regions 1 to 9, where they had activities planned for Mashramani, but nothing for Region 10. Immediately, the commemoration committee flagged it, reached out to them to find out what was going on, but at the same time, I would have advised the committee to go ahead and ensure that plans are in place for Mashramani at Linden, its birthplace, where it was debuted. And so the commemoration committee, which comprises of stakeholders, councillors, and the admin staff, which includes the DREO, who was delegated responsibility by the REO, we met in January, and the committee crafted a budget totaling $5 million, which was to be expended on Republic celebration at Linden, at Cooney, and at Kokwani. At the February statutory meeting, this was agreed to. The agreed budget was presented by the councillors, because when you ask, while the council asked for 17 million, the government would have given them 11,980,000 to execute activities for the year, an increase of 80,000 from 2022. And so a majority vote at the statutory meeting of the council, the council would have voted for $5 million with specific instructions to the REO that this money should be spent on Region 10, those areas that I just mentioned. And so the REO committed to that budget and even signed off on the budget and for the events in the 3 locations. And so we, of course, started to reach out to people and ask them to bring in their invoices to them. We showed them what is the design of the costume we wanted, and we forwarded those documents to the administration for them to execute. In the case of the costume, a designer from Linden was identified, and the committee told him that we want to put 100 revelers on the road. What happened within a quick space of time is that the DRO went behind the council's back, made an advance payment to the costume designer that the council would have picked, and took the costumes that were originally for the Linden Mash which occurred yesterday and sent revelers to Georgetown with the mash clearly against the council. The way to the council. We never planned the Mashramani activities for Georgetown. So he took funding that was originally earmarked for Linden, utilized portions of it, close to just over 1.2 million was for the costume, and another set of money for the truck, and then food and drinks and so on for the revelers. Maybe just over $2 million was expended out of the $5 million that we had budgeted for Linden, Kokwani, and Aichoni. And so that is where the problem started. However, on the 6th of February, we continued to plan our activities. We put out our flyers. It received 44,000 plus views. The ad went out. And we told the residents of Linden that we would have met with it as a committee, that the police were involved in this. They were written to. They were a part of the planning session. The police, the representative in the person of the commander and the deputy commander. We had the representative from the fire department, the representative from the traffic and military, and several other stakeholders were in the room. And it was at that meeting that we agreed and the police endorsed the position for the Mash route to be from the Fife Corner to Beira, and the minutes of those meetings were recorded. At no time was Christianberg ever in the discussion, because if you look at the numbers that was recorded yesterday, Christianberg, we believe the facility has outgrown, the activity has outgrown the Christianberg facility. And while we call for resources to be placed in the facility for upgrading and possibly expanding its landscape and accommodate work there, until that can happen, we believe that the route that Mash would have taken yesterday, which is to Beira, and maybe one facility at Mackenzie is upgraded, it can come to Mackenzie. That is the position that the police agreed to, that the councillors agreed to, that the co-opted members agreed to, and that the regional executive officer and DREO originally signed off on. And so, 3 days into leading up to the event, the REO and his officers used the state media, NCN, to cause confusion in the public, in the public sphere by going, and while NCN was running the ad for Beira, they took political directives and went ahead and started to run an ad for Christianberg without consulting the elected officials of the RDC. And so it caused confusion in the ears. We asked them to fund several of the things that the REO originally committed to. He would have failed on those promises. And so originally, excuse me, persons in Linden, like the guy who designed the float for the education department, which brought force at the national level. We ask that other persons who engage us, that they assist them with resources to build several other floats. In addition, we thought that with one Guyana initiative that is being pushed all across the country, that the floats that were used in Georgetown, some would have come to Linden and some would have been sent to Berbice because we both held Mash on the same day.
Yeah.
If you look at what happened in Berbice, all of the floats from Georgetown went to Berbice, which left Region 10 with one float that was done by the RDC, no floats from the national level, and a denial and a rejection by the REO to refuse to allow our talented people in Linden the opportunity to make more floats. So many of the people who are laughing and hurt is because we were between a rock and a hard place. The REO withheld the signature from approving the advance invoices for service providers, even though he committed and signed off on the entire $5 million budget, which was passed at a statutory meeting. And so it's a clear case of what we call domination and control and political directives coming from from Georgetown to the REO.
REO.
In fact, at one session, we asked the REO, sir, who do you take directives from? And in the letter that he wrote to the council, this is what the REO said in his response. He said, Mr. Deron Adams, Regional Chairman, please be reminded that I have been appointed by the Ministry of Local Government and Regional Development as head of the administration. And then he further went on to say that the main reason for this missive is to bring some form of semblance with regards to my appointment as and responsibilities. I am answerable and accountable to my principals, and he lists them. He said he's responsible to the Finance Secretary, to the Public Procurement Commission, and the Public Accounts Committee of the Parliament. It is unfortunate, as I would have mentioned during the last statutory, that the REO does not see himself as accountable to the RDC Region 10 since he never made mention of the RDC. So clearly, central government has hijacked the local organs in the person of the RDC, and you know of the challenges happening at the municipal level. And they are overriding and giving directives to the REO to carry out central government priorities rather than the regional government priorities. And this is unfortunate. We are clearly in a dictatorship state, and I would have made mention of this at the Coffee 250 program that I spoke at. And, you know, it is most unfortunate. One other point before I pause, the REO also in another letter referencing the budgetary allocation under 6291 national and other events, this is what he said. As such, the accounting officer, as the accounting officer, I am required to comply with the Fiscal Management and Accountability Act, where the money is appropriated by the National Assembly under 801 Regional Administration and Finance, Charter of Accounts 6291, national and other events are insufficient to execute the Linden Regional Mashramani celebrations 2023. And this letter came on the 3rd of March, when the event was on the 5th of March. So in essence, the REO is saying that there is no money, nowhere, to run off the Linden Mash. So he withheld money for the revelers, he withheld money for the sound system, he withheld money for the food for the revelers, and they even withheld funding for water for the revelers. It was at the last minute after we engaged stakeholders and councillors pool their resources to find water and juice and so on for the revelers that we saw a van at the intersection with food, with water, juice, and food that were heading to Christianburg. And so we took it out of the vehicle and we said, no, this has to go to Bayrock because the revelers are going to Bayrock. But clearly there was a case of domination and control. They hijacked this activity. And of course, by his own admission and his own signature to these letters, he has indicated that he doesn't intend to fund any of the activities that were deliberated on by the commemoration committee, a total disrespect and disregard for the RDC.
Thank you, Regional Chairman Deron Adams there, giving us an insight into, the organizing and of the mass celebrations from January and what was done to frustrate it by the PPP's regional executive officer, who seemed not to be accountable to the RDC, but to the PPP itself. I want to go to, and I'm glad, Regional Chairman, that you extrapolated on those points, because I want to go to Member of Parliament Devin Adams.
Sears.
Devin Sears, sorry, I'm getting Devin Sears. I want to, because here's a situation. I'm Regional Chairman. I'm glad that you spoke on that, because here is a Linden, a popular Lindener, who Miss Diana Chapman. I think she has been a soca monarch. She's a recording artist. She's a very popular Lindener who said this today. She said Mashramani originated at Linden, and that float parade that you guys had yesterday, she's so disappointed. She says her heart pains her. I love my hometown so much, but the leaders and organizers in Linden need to do better. I do not blame the people, I blame the ones who had the responsibility to make sure it was a success, and they failed to show good leadership. It's Betsy, I'll go to culture, the Ministry of Culture, for help in organizing this mash. I don't know what the RDC is doing. Of course, the regional chairman would have cleared that up to some extent. But Deron, how would you want, Devin, how would you want to respond to what Diana Chapman said there?
Well, Norm, it's clear that that comment is being made from an uninformed perspective, clearly. And, from an artist's point of view, I might want to tend to look at it from her angle, because she has a track record of winning several accolades in calypso and soca, and even other song competitions and so forth. In this year, she got second in calypso and second in the soca monarch. And we as the leaders of Region 10 have always tried our best to support our local artists. Of course, it's no strange term that we are the talent basket of the Caribbean, and I would say the entire world now, Linden. But then, Norman, what is troubling at this point in time is that even when we look at the budgetary allocation for national events in this year's budget, 2023 budget, it screams red flags all around. Because when we were questioning the budgetary allocation, particularly from Mashramani as compared to CPL Cricket Carnival, a lot of the ministry's budgetary allocation for national and other events, most of it went to CPL Cricket Carnival. So it shows where the government's focus is, not on what it is given birth to, but it is adapting the carnival, and just so we might get a crop over in Guyana these days. Norman, let me shed some light on something. This year was probably one of the first years that we have not gotten Panorama, a calypso competition or section of the calypso competition or the soca competition coming to Linden. So when we saw the Mashramani calendar out, and they had a region 1, a region 3, region 4, 6, and region 10 was excluded, right away we said, nah, something wrong, something wrong. We had submitted, the RDC had submitted their budget and plan since last year. And then last minute now they're trying to make some releases that is mediocre. They yesterday's event, Mashramani event, let me tell you, Norman, we worked very, very, very hard to pull it off. And we had to go in as leaders go into our own pockets to ensure that the revelers, some of them eat, have refreshments, and just to pull off, sound systems had to come out of pocket as well. And these
Norm,
items have been catered for and budgeted through the RDC. So this here, what Deron is talking about control, it is clear. The PPP right now behaving managed Norman. The PPP behaving managed, and they're testing us. They continue to test us, but we're ready for the fight. We are ready. So when we see statements like these here coming out from Diana Chapman and other folks who are concerned about what this product of matrimony has become, this fight here is twofold. The leaders within Region 10 they plan this magnificent event, but then the government now wants to derail their plans and sideline and take control of it
They
or
want to
bring it next
manipulate.
now
They want to
no
manipulate the process.
right. That's why I'm saying they're being very managed. But listen, they have to respect governance. If it is that the folks, the people of Region 10 resoundingly went out and voted for APNU AFC 19,200 votes, right? Well, then when we go back to the poll, if you so want to to plan and organize things for Linden and show that you mean the best for Linden, well then go and get the votes. But for now, respect governance. Respect the chairman, the vice chair, and the RDC councillors who are making decisions on behalf of the people. That is
But,
what needs to happen.
well,
um,
it's very clear. Before I come to you, regional chairman, we need to go to Mark. He's been sitting there for a
I
while.
just
Um,
I just want to follow up. I just want to follow up on a point that Devin made and refer to what Diana Chapman made mention on. Quickly, 2 minutes. So
yes.
I went at pains length to explain that the committee, after seeing regions 1 to 9 was on a calendar at the national level, at youth sports and culture level, reached out to Central to ask why was Region 10 not included. And until now, we have not received an answer. So I don't understand what she's saying that culture, youth, and sports should be engaged to take on the activities. Culture, youth, and sports is the problem. Secondly, we had an after show, which would have seen Jomo and several other artists performing at Beira, a well-organized, planned program. And the government intervened through its REO and derailed the program. He said he was not going to pay any advances to the band, nor the stage, the guy that owns the stage, nor the sound system, nor the artists. I don't know what more Diana Chapman wants the region to do. The policymakers, we just form policies and plan programs. It is the administration who is responsible for executing and making payments to service provider. If they withhold the funding and their signatures from those checks and documents, how do you expect us to still plan? I just articulated to you that out of all the floats that were in Georgetown, ask yourself, Diana Chapman, why none of the floats were sent to Linden to complement what we had in Linden? Why all was sent to Region 6? And when you answer, I'll happy to respond once again.
And of course,
Thank you.
Region 6 is a PPP, stronghold. Look, Mark Goring, Regional Vice Chairman, first time on the program, welcome. You would have heard the Regional Chairman and the Member of Parliament of Region 10, AFC Member of Parliament of Region 10, Mr. Devin Sears. Look, what has happened in your estimation? We know that as and we have heard here this evening that there's been serious interference into this whole mash affair by the regional accounting officer who is the REO. But of course, from observation and from what we've seen, the mash has been successful coming out of the efforts of you guys in Region 10, because the PvP did not get their way this time. You know, Beira Community Center was identified by you guys, and thousands turned up there. Christianberg Hard Court was identified by the PPP. A dog, a cat, and a kitten left there. They didn't want to stay. Tell us what are your views on this.
Hi, good night, Norman. Good night to the viewing public. As regional vice chairman, I must say I'm deeply disappointed and concerned about the recent events that occurred during the Linden Mash committee Mash celebration. It is unacceptable for the regional administration to hijack this important cultural event and disrespect our regional chairman, our regional vice chairman, and our MPs. Linden would have witnessed the hijacking of democracy in plain sight. We would have witnessed the regional executive officer taking decision from outside persons, from the government, and also a point to note is that there is persons who gyrate around Linden who also give instruction to the REO on how to carry on the affairs of this of the people's business. Because you can hear something on the road and then you will see the REO cried out. So it is clear that it takes instruction from the government to bully the local leaders, take instruction from people on account of the word in the street. There are certain individuals in Linden that the REO doesn't do nothing without their sanction. Even to this morning, as I was entering the gate to go to work, one of the person on the road was, yelling comment at me from across the road, how next year they're gonna come out stronger and no one can bully them in how they take mash. So it's clearly they have two policymakers. They have the regional chairman and councillors who make lawful decisions on behalf of the people who are being elected to represent the people. And they have persons who is on the street that making their own policy and pass on to the REO, as well as the government passing on also policies and decisions that they take in Georgetown to carry out. And we would have seen in the last statutory meeting where the DREO in sitting in for the REO would have mentioned clear that the REO doesn't have to report anything to the RDC or is not accountable to the RDC. So to the viewing public, I want you to understand what that statement means and the implications. It simply means that the REO is saying that I am not accountable to the people of Region 10. He's not accountable to the people of Region 10. It means that he can execute any plans that he wants to do and whatever his political bosses would have direction that they would have given him. What we noticed yesterday is that all of the big wings in Linden left the region and would have passed instruction to their junior staff. Could you imagine a clerk try to disrespect the chairman yesterday, the head of this region, who sits and preside over a council meeting and decide on where, on a policy decision on where the Mash celebration will go. And a junior staff, a clerk in the administration, he takes his instruction from the REO, whoever given the instruction, where they must take the mash. And the chairman is standing there. I am the head of this region, and we have planned, and the mash is going to Bayrock. And we have seen this vulgarity in plain sight, whereby the food for the revelers, the AREO took it, drive away with it into Christianborg, and the other RDC vehicle. And this is where the disrespect is coming from, because these young staff is getting involved in political matters when they are public servant. They're operating like politicians because they're in power. And then the few that don't want to follow those instructions, they are being victimized. They are being silent. right? And this is what is going on in the region. We have persons who officers are hearing who is getting contracts because they are aligning themselves with the government. So legitimate persons who are not who are bidding for contract, they cannot get those contracts and all these different things. And I want Linden to know that we, the elected officials, would have sat since in January, as the chairman would have mentioned, and planned a proper march because we were not catered for the national scene. So we would have planned a march for Linden and Kokwani and Aichoni. In fact, a Republic celebration we would have set and planned, including the flag raising. And point to note, just to get the genesis of this, in 2022, instruction came from Georgetown that Kokwani and Aichuni must not have no flag raising celebration. And chairman and a few councillors, we engaged the private sector and defy those orders and make sure that the people of Aichuni and Kokwani had a Republic flag raising ceremony last year. The people well know about that. I just been reminding them of what happened last year. And we see that recurring itself again. And we would have stood up and said, Kokwani and Aichuni is a part of Region 10, and they will have to have this national celebration celebrated in their community also. We are the leaders and we are catering for every single body, but we are witnessing a creeping dictatorship. And if that was allowed and was not checked yesterday, we would have seen a plain display of dictatorship from 10 onwards. And I'm happy that the people of Region 10 would have rejected the administration direction of taking the march to Christianburg, and they came out in their thousands, lined the road from the bridge straight up to Bayrock. You could check my Facebook page and you will see people in their thousands came out there yesterday. All the vendors, also I point to note, taking this march from Bayrock, they are tempted to take away the economic activity that take place there on March Day in Linden. By all the persons, they put out a set of red tents in Christianburg where their supporters were, so that they can hijack the march, them alone the benefit. Forget that there's thousands of persons that depending on these other vendors who line the street. You have take those and see vendors lining the road from Jano School, from the bridge, right up along Bayrock. Everybody get out, and everybody, I can assure that because I went there and I witnessed it, everybody attempted to take away part from our celebration, the economic activity, to put money in people's pocket. That was attempted to take away from the people. And I'm happy that the people stand up and the leaders stand up and said the march going to Bayrock. And we were successful in that. And we had a lovely march yesterday regards to the float. I also point to note that the float, one of the float, I'm going to send you the photograph that you can post, is still at 5 Corner because there was an attempt to sabotage the march. The other float that the Department of Education would have done and went to Georgetown and get forced. Those float, we asked that those float be placed on this Linden Mash parade so that the children who did not have an opportunity to see the float in Georgetown, to see it in Linden, the float that got forced, to see the talent that was displayed in crafting those floats. The children was denied that. The administration denied the children and the people of Region 10 an opportunity to see those displays. And we want to call on the people to rally around your leaders. This is not who didn't do and who didn't do. This is a council that you voted for that's going to represent you to the last. You have a regional chairman, a vice chairman, and councillors who are going to continue to fight to make sure that the services that is belong to you come to you. And once you're behind your leaders, like what displayed yesterday, we will always have victory in Region 10. That's all I will say for now.
We will always have, regional vice chairman there, Mark Goring. Vice chairman, what you said there in terms of the function or functions of the regional executive officer, and the moving away from the functions to become a political operative, to deny the region, to disrespect the RDC, the regional chairman, and all of that. Let us. It seems to be happening only to regions that are not controlled by the PPP. And I'm glad for those who are listening. So many comments coming in. You have extrapolated perfectly, and I want to show you this clip to show what the PPP, one of the big wigs in the PPP, Anil Nandalal, was saying to the RDC in a stronghold, how a regional executive officer should act. And clearly, the regional executive officer of Region 10 is not acting in that manner. So let's go to this clip quickly, because you've made some very salient points, and something has to be done about the REO that is at Region 10. Something has to be done.
It's important also, and I say this because I've seen it happen in other regions, where we don't understand the role of the REO. The REO is the Regional Executive Officer. The principal function of the Regional Executive Officer is to execute the decisions of the council. We had a series of problems in one region where the regional officer felt that he was the regional council and defied decisions of the council and created a whole host of administrative ruckus. And you know who suffered in the end? The people whom you are expected to serve. So we don't want that kind of arrangement to happen. We don't want that kind of disastrous engagement.
Clearly, you heard what and I want to bring Devin in. I want to bring Devin in, sorry. Devin Sears, don't want to get your name wrong again this time. MP Devin Sears. When you look at what transpired at Linden, because now it is becoming clear to our viewers that it's not the organizing committee at Region 10 that made any mistakes or blundered or didn't plan properly. It is the REO frustrating the process to make the regional chairman and the committee look bad, and to make the PPP come in and look good. But it didn't work. So go ahead, MP Davis.
Norman, our founding fathers drafted the Constitution, of which we are following, and the chapter 2809 and 20. Sorry, I'm getting a slight feedback. Forgive me. Not sure. Yes. According to the chapter 2801 and 2809, which talks, of course, regional and local governance. You know, while Anil is talking about the responsibilities of the REO, and while that is good for the public to see that the PPP is standing up and being principled in how they operate, that is not the case.
It is not.
That's a farce. And clearly, the REO in this case is taking directions from the government, from senior officials within the PPP, as to how to derail the activities of the chairman and his councillors. And I go back to way back during the 23 years of their governance from 1992 up to 2015. We have seen cases whereby they will withheld funding for certain developmental programs in the region. And when you compare what is happening throughout the country, in particular in the region 6 and region 5, their stronghold as compared to what is happening here shows the transfer of drugs. This is far much bigger than what they did or attempted to do with Mashramani. If we allow them to get away with these small mangoes or cherries, they can come for the whole tree next. And that is what we have to guard against. So while I might want to agree with what he said, but in practice, no, 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 no. They're not practicing what they're preaching. They're talking about transparency and accountability, but that is not the case here in Region 10. And we, as the leaders, are not going to accept it. We are not going to let that slip by at all.
It's not the case in Region 10. Look, let's go to the regional chairman. Chairman, we know that that regardless of what the regional executive officer and those in the echelons of the PPP would have tried to do, we saw great success and support in terms of the people of Linden not following the PPP's float parade to Christianburg, but going to Bayrock. And before I ask you to comment on that, I want us to have a look actually at clearly that's a mammoth crowd. That is a huge turnout at the Bayrock ground. Of course, we can have a look at the PPP's location for our viewers to see, and that's the that's the PPP's location for the viewers to see. That's what it is, and so clearly all of their machinations, all that they tried to do under the guise of railroading your organizing, it failed. It literally failed. Look, the regional executive office clearly is working for the PPP as a a surrogate, a political activist, so to speak. What can the region do to cause that situation to be corrected and for us to have the REO working professionally in its capacity?
So, Norman, I know one of the things that we're exploring possibilities is to take legal action and to go to the courts so that those who are on or who are not familiar with their role and responsibilities will be brought in line. You know, I just want to back up a bit. There's a famous line I like to quote when I'm around many of my colleagues, that in the absence of evidence, perception becomes greater than fact. Many people are sitting from other corners of the country and they are giving their viewpoint that the event should be handed over to the Culture, Youth and Sports to run. You all saw how the REO disrespected the chairman of Region 4. There are many other cases that I can highlight to you where we have to be battling for things. Things that are supposed to just come natural, things that are just supposed to happen naturally. And so while there are some who are privileged to sing at the One Guyana concerts and get paid and enjoy the perks, I want them to know that at the here in Region 10, the national and other events is under threat, inclusive of that of the Chapman and the Linden Martyrs, because this does not just only affect Mashramani. There are persons who suffered greatly when the Chapman bomb went off and killed many Lindeners. And so the observances that fall under this line item, the fact that the REO said that he is unwilling to honor services that have already been provided, tells you that he believes he has the power to withhold his signature from a Sun Chapman event that many people are looking forward to. And so I ask that we be very careful with the narrative that we follow and that we follow the truth, investigate, and do not be swayed by propaganda just because we want to fit in or because we are benefiting in some way from some other source. The people of Region 10 elected over 19,000, went out and voted overwhelmingly for the elected officials. Tell me, how do you justify as an REO saying that you receive instructions from whichever ministry, whether it's culture, youth, and sports, that the mayor and the members of parliament must not speak at any of the national observance, meaning Republic Day, Independence Day. And it is because of the steadfastness of the council and how we were, unmovable. We stood our ground. That is the only reason why you saw the mayor and the member of parliament feature on the program that I have in my hands here. Because there was a clique in the administration who sought to remove them from speaking. They did it last year. And if you go to the 2022 independence celebration, I think it was, you will see what transpired. When the whole baby party was broken up, people were using indecent language and several other things. Is that what you want us to let the culture and Food Ministry handle from Georgetown for us to have a repeat of that? Or you prefer to have competent people here in Linden who were a part of and understand their roles and function, delivering advice, forwarding those advice and recommendations to the administration for it to be executed. We need to make a choice. We need to make a decision.
But I want to ask you this quickly, and I want, because I want to go to Devin and then to Mark. I want to ask you this quickly. We got so much comments coming in, so many comments coming in, and some of them indicating what is it you are going to do about this situation that is happening, other than talking about it. What can you do to arrest it and to stop it? Anil Lal is saying that the regional executive officer must understand his role. His role is to execute the work of the RDC. So when the regional chairman and others identify situation, contracts, whatever, as the accounting officer, the regional executive would have to analyze that and, finance it. You understand? You are the minister of the region. You are the head of the region. You're the political head of the region. The REO is not the head of the region. He's a regional accounting officer. Whenever projects arise, whatever needs to be done, of course, there must be accountability. But once that is presented to him and it is done properly in layman's terms, he has to fund it. Here is a situation where the REO is behaving as if he's more powerful than the political head of the region, who is akin to minister of the region. How do you arrest it outside of complaining?
So, as I would have indicated earlier, we have been documenting all that has been happening, especially with this new development, with the withholding of the funds for the committees of the RDC, specific to 6291 national events. And the first opportunity is that we will take legal action. We have been informing and engaging the international community, sharing this information with them. And I mean, the service providers who will be affected to withhold payment from somebody after they would have provided a service. I'm sure that there are persons who, once they're properly educated, then it agitate them. And if picket action occurs, then the REO will have to deal with the consequences of those. At this time, we are using all of the options that are available to us. The legal action that we will likely take, informing the international community, because let me say this to you, one of the things, and I must commend the police force and the commander here in Region 10, because we believe that the fact that we got through to have the Mashramani placed at Dera, that there were elements planted by the PPP who were bent on going and damage the truck to make it appear as though that occurred that was done by Londoners. In fact, if you look at some of the other pictures, you will see that the police, in some aspect, they cordoned off the area. Meanwhile, I did not agree in totality with what they did because it prevented senior citizens from sitting on the bleachers. They ensured that they had a busload of police on the truck. Now, we said to them the truck was there for the past 3 years. It was built by the coalition. It was started by the coalition. No one ever damaged it. Why would Linden people wait until an activity that is going to happen for just a few hours to go and damage the truck when we won the truck because we are the best at athletics? We have won the championship more times than any other region. The truck should have been built in Linden first rather than being built at Lenora. But because of politics again, it took the APNU to activate that process so that today we can be benefiting from it. And there are many other cases that I can say to you. Protest action, yes, if not managed properly, they can in court plant people in those protest action that can cause more massive problems. And that is what they wanted. That is why.
But you can't see that as you cannot see that as a deterrent because once we live in a world where there is there is social media and so on, you cannot refuse to protest because you feel they're going to plant people
no. I never said refuse to protest. I said that in essence it has to be properly organized, like was done when we were protesting against the mandatory vaccination exercise.
Yes.
And that came at a time when the government knew that David Patterson had submitted a road project from Linden to Maburo to upgrade the road. 55 million sterling pounds was allocated. And because they said they did not want to do the road, they placed handcuffs on the gates of the Linden Hospital complex to agitate our people, as to give a reason to the international community why the road should not proceed. Because they failed to agitate, because they failed to aggravate our people, we are today benefiting from the upgrade of the road, which will open up opportunities for the people of Region 10. They never wanted that. We're happy that the people of Region 10 did not bite the bait then, and that we will never allow them to come here and dominate and control. This is a region that was won by the coalition government, and they must respect the democratic principles and what is laid out by the elected officials flowing from the consultation we would have had with our people on the ground.
Okay, I'm going to go to Devin Sears and then we're going to go to Vice Chairman Mark Goring. Devin Sears, there's so many comments on the thread. The PvP is talking about a one Guyana. I think people in the opposition constituencies know that that's a farce. They know that that's nothing genuine coming from the PPP. And Ian Small, who's going on here as Small Ian, and I think that's my classmate at Multiad that I haven't seen from since school days, which is decades and decades ago. He is saying that it is the likes of yourself who are MPs that are posing for photo and sitting down with this one Guyana business and so on that make people believe that is why that the PPP can be disrespecting our communities, because here is what they're doing to us and you are sitting down with them posing for photos showing like everything is okay. How do you respond to that?
So I could respond in several ways, but let's deal with the meat of the matter here, right? The PPP of itself, when you look at what is happening within the region, with over 70% of, and Mark can talk to this here, over 70% of our food is being imported. They are not They're not pro agriculture as they purport themselves to be. Even this in this year's budget, they've asked the region has asked for vehicles so that the agriculture officers can travel across the region. Of course, we're bordered by three of the main rivers: Demerara, Essequibo, and Borabis. So when it comes to food security, they're not pushing that, which will create employment. If when you look at what is happening at the call center there, the call center is a ghost town, right? And they're pushing it that they care about young people and they're providing job opportunities. A lot of the major investments, like those world-class five-star hotels, you have them going on at Ogle to Mary and even in central Georgia. None of it is being directed to Linden, right? Even though that we're going to have the Linden to Lethem Road. The point that I'm making with regards to that is that they don't care about us. And Deron made that point just now when they tried to divert the road or withhold funding for the construction from Linden to Muboro, which we have secured under our tenure. Normal, let me say this here. There are instances whereby us as MPs have to deliver to the people, be it what it may. At this stage, there's the PPP, whether it is that we like it or not, they're in government. We are against them. We are against them. We believe that they were not elected. They were placed there. They were installed, and that position remains the same. There are instances whereby, with regards to parliamentary affairs and issues, that we have to, right? Especially, let
Engage,
me give
have
one
to engage
instance.
them.
We have to engage.
But
At
that's
this
not. But
stage,
that's not the
they
question I'm asking you. That's
good,
not the
good, good.
question. I will allow
I'm
you
getting
to.
down to the point.
No, I will
Well,
allow you
yeah,
to expand on that. But I'm asking a direct question.
good,
What is your
good. I'm
view
getting
of posing for photo opportunities with the PPP,
good.
realizing
I'm
that? Let me ask you two questions directly that I want you to deal. I understand that the opposition has to engage the government in a
correct.
professional way to deal with issues, but the PPP politics, their real politics, has nothing to do with dealing with governance. And I think that is clear to the most ordinary people in Guyana. The two questions I want to ask you: do you believe that the PPP is genuinely promoting a one Guyana? And do you
No,
be hold on, and do you believe that is the right thing? It is the right thing for opposition members of parliament and opposition functionaries, local democratic leaders, and so on, member of parliaments and so on, members of parliament, sorry, and so on, to be posing with the PPP officials for photo opportunities.
okay, so with regards to the one guy, and that's the point I was just making, I spoke about their issues, especially of national interest, of which both sides have to be somewhat bipartisan. The Venezuela issue is one of those cases whereby we have to engage. At this point in time, the PPP controls the purse. While we are against them, right? They control the purse, and at some point in time, we have to engage them. When I spoke earlier about what is happening across the regions, other regions, in terms of development and investments that is happening in those areas, and they totally ignore Region 10, that is a typical example of that not being one Guyana. And to answer the other question with regards to if it is right, it's principally it could be how to put it, it is not accepted. It shouldn't be an accepted norm to pretend like if everything is okay in the country when it's not. When cost of living is constantly going up, unemployment is constantly going up. Young people are being deprived of university education in Linden because you don't want to bring a faculty here. That those are typical examples of not taking photos with them to make it appear as if it's good. So in that particular
No,
context, I would disagree with posing with PPP ministers and so forth for them to say, oh, you see everything all right.
Is a one
We as
guy,
the
no.
opposition good is a one guy,
So why
and
do
that
you
is one thing they use it.
why do you do it? And you're not alone. Here's a situation, and someone just mentioned it there. Here's a situation, and you know, and the world knows, the Guyanese world knows that I'm dead set against that. Dead set. You understand? I haven't seen Mark Goring. I have not seen the regional chairman. I don't think that they could even go next to the regional chairman with a camera. Hold on a minute, regional chairman. Here is a situation where MPs in Georgetown were posing with Clifton Hicken, who is a surrogate of the PPP, that does the PPP bidding as the commissioner of police. And they're posing with ministers, key people and MPs, opposition MPs in Guyana were posing with these people. A few days later, the PPP broke down the party office in Letem, the PNC office in Letem. The police were there as a part of that process, but they were posing with Hicken a few days ago. People are saying that if you cannot take a stand to say, you know what, the One Guyana thing is a farce, and we know it is a farce. The PPP is an enemy to us. Everything that the PPP does to embrace us is a farce. Their intention is to crush us. They take pictures with you guys, they put it up on their website, they tell international diplomats and foreign people, you see, we know it's a One Guyana. They're denying you of everything, including what transpired at Linden with the Mash. I'm asking you, do you believe it is the right thing to sit down with them, to pose with them, to take pictures with them?
No, and I answered that question clearly. I said no.
Will you do it in the future? Will you do it in the future?
If I would do it, yes. Well, let me just say something, Norman. Right? Like I said, there are instances whereby we have governance issues of which we will meet, and photos are always on MPs. Always.
MP Sears, MP Sears, MP Sears. I have to cut you here. I really have to cut you here. We have to go to Mark Goring. But I understand. Regional Chairman, 1 second. We have to go to Mark, and then I'll come back to you. We cannot keep Mark like this. He needs an opportunity also. Look, hold on a minute. MP Sears. Sitting in Parliament and pictures are taken, and PPP MPs are there. If you are at a function and you're standing there, and they're standing over there because it's a political function, we understand that. But to be hugging, to be posing, to be doing that kinds of stuff, to me, it is unacceptable. And to the Guyanese people who are suffering, it is unacceptable. Let's go.
Or correction that has happened with our MPs and the government. I know at official events, like what I just shared, even at the flag raising ceremony, myself, Figueroa, the chairman, the vice chair, even the mayor and deputy mayor, they were there. And that was an official function. I am not aware of any instances where our opposition MPs are hugging and caressing and coercing with the PPP. I'm not aware of any of that. And if that is the case, that should be detested.
That's the image that we are getting. But Regional Vice Chair Mark Goring here with us too. Mark, you are to many I've spoken to. They said you're very solid. They said that you are a firebrand, and you're an asset to the region. You are a rising star in this struggle. What do you think about posing for photos? If Irfan Ali comes up tomorrow, or Charles Ranson comes up to Linden tomorrow and wants to argue and smile and say One Guyana, how would you react to that?
Thank you, Norman. First, I must say I'm branded as mannish. Secondly, I must say to the public that I received a message that the RU want to clip my wings. I don't have wings, but I heard the RU want to clip my wings. I'm flying too fast. I am here in politics not for the benefit of it. In fact, I did not want to be here, but I was encouraged to be here to take up this position because I have a love for people. And I like to represent people. And the mere fact that I take up this position is to represent people to the best of my ability, not for no personal gain. In fact, I just forget I'm the vice chairman, to be honest. I just forgot I'm the vice chairman. But I'm here to represent people to the best of my ability. I am the regional vice chairman responsible for sub-region 2, Kokwani, Ituni, and the Riverine area. I'm going to provide the best representation. And so far, they have embraced me. I have embraced them. and even to the councillors, my colleagues. No, I'm a fierce fighter for the short time being the vice chairman, and the fight that I'm taking on now, it I'm gonna let a lot of victimization for it. In fact, is I'm in the fourth month of vice chairman, and I don't think I will be paid in a while. So, and that wouldn't bother me, right? I know that will be used against me, and it wouldn't bother me, right? And I will continue to fight for the people, make the, the right representation for the people. And if I see we take a different slant in the interview, we move away a little from the actual meat of the story,
No, but
which is
we
the
have dealt with the story
Mash
already. We
celebration,
have dealt
which
with
we
that
know by
already.
now.
We have dealt with that already.
All right,
But
well,
yes, go ahead.
well,
Mr.
since I have
Norman,
the platform,
I ask you a question in terms, and then we will go back to talk about Kokwani. What is expected at the ceremony, the mass celebrations of Kokwani? That's where we're going to close. But unfortunately, we have to deal with some of the politics because people are commenting. People are commenting, regional chairman,
right,
and they're saying that
Mr.
the
Norman,
reason. Yeah, go ahead, regional
if
chairman.
you can give me an opportunity
Go
to
ahead.
speak
Go
to the
ahead.
very question that you
Go ahead.
asked,
Go
I'll
ahead.
be
Go
happy
ahead.
to also
Go ahead. Go ahead,
add my
regional
2
chairman.
cents. So
Go ahead.
one of the things that I believe as politician, one, you are placed between a rock and a hard place at
Please.
times. How do you explain, one, at a national event, of course, the minister who, whether or not I like it or not, he will represent the government. You have to stand on the dais next to him. But the important thing that I want to get over to you is that we have taken a position as elected officials to, one, educate and agitate. I remember going to one event and I heard the head for Go Invest stand and tell a group of young people and he was on NCN, that the people at the call center are earning between $90,000 to $100,000. Now, had I not been present there, I could not have documented those notes to come back and, of course, you know, should say what is actually being occurring at the call center. So at times it is important to be present. If I have to go there as the only APNU AFC rep so that my constituency can know that I have not abandoned them, I will go.
Yes,
However, I
precisely.
will document the, however, I encourage all of our elected officials to document the propaganda. Where
Yeah.
you're coming to say that you are giving 500,000 to small businesses, but when you meet into the boardroom, you give them 150,000. If the elected officials are not present, they can't expose the propaganda that is happening, and that the only people who receive the 500,000 are PPP people. So if I have to sit with a minister and record all of the lies and the propaganda he's feeding to the people of
You have
Linden,
to. You have to.
so that I can
But
rebuff it,
let me
then
ask
I
you,
will
regional
go.
chairman.
Hold a second, hold a second. The other point I want to make is that there are things that were budgeted for by this RDC that our elected officials, the regional vice chairman, myself, and councillors made representation for. And you know what happens? When the ATV bike come for Kokwani that we made representation for, they lock us out and have the minister coming up to hand over the bike like if it came from central government. When the ambulance Ichuni, which we made representation for, comes into the country, they ignore the chairman of the health committee and they send for the minister to hand over the ambulance to Ichuni. When the water ambulances and the boats and everything else that we budget for at the RDC comes in, they blindly ignore us, do not inform the committee people and the members of parliament, and so they make it appear that they are the ones who were the initiator and who made the representation for it. Look at the last press conference. You will see where I called out the fact that the children of Mackenzie High School do not have a facility to play at. The premier school in this region,
Yeah.
Bushes. And guess what? The very next day, the president came to Linden. He visited the Mackenzie Sports Club ground.
Yes.
He visited several other areas. He visited the Mackenzie High School play field, and immediately 20-something million was allocated to upgrade the field. I have to be present to let the people of Region
Yes.
10 know that it was as a result of
Result
our
of
representation that the
Right.
field is
and
being done.
that
We have the
but
papers to
but but
show,
but,
Good.
and we have everything. So
but
if I have to stand, if I have to stand next to them because they want to come and make it appear that they're the ones who came and did the field off of their own whatever, I have to let the people know
but would
based
you
on
but and that's
documents
good, that's
that it
good.
is a result
But
of the
would and that's
representation.
you have to. But the question is, would you stand with the minister and hug and smile and pose? Would
No.
you
I
would you shake his hand and laughing and so that they can catch you like would you do that?
no listen, as I
If you
said,
are there, if you and you have never done
as
it, we know that for a fact. You have never done it. But the point we are making is what the people are seeing, and this is very important. There is a struggle on. No one is disputing that you have. Aubrey Norton refused to shake the president's hand, correctly so, but he sits in parliament and has to engage them. He would have to. He had to sit with them at an oil conference. There was no indication that Aubrey Norton was cozy with any of them while he was sitting there. You could see in the body language that I'm here to represent my people. The reason why I'm here is because I have to be here. But there will be no photos of hugs and smiles and standing with a glass of wine together or whatever. It's a very simple point. I've never seen you done it. And I have to take your point on board before we close. I have to take your point on board. You have to engage them. You have to be at certain meetings and functions with them. But you have to be cognizant that your people are watching you and that you give your people the impression that while you are there, it is professionally, and that you are not really pleased to be in their presence, but you are there to provide representation for your people. Because they're killing us, they're denying us, they're dividing us, they're trampling on us, and every picture tells a story. Mark Goring, would you hug and smile with Minister Ramson or any PPP leader that comes to Linden if they come to deal with something that you have to do it?
The fact that you never saw me for the last 3 years in that position tells its own story.
Wonderful. Look, let us
Um,
go.
I,
Go. Sorry.
if invited through the correct channel, like the Minister of Natural Resource did, with engagement he had with the farmers, the miners, and loggers, I will turn up
You
to
have to.
represent the people.
Yes, you have to.
I have to turn
You
up
have to.
to represent the people. That's my mandate. Because if I don't go, it means I would not be able to effectively represent the people that I'm elected to
Precisely.
represent.
Precisely.
So
Precisely.
if I'm not invited, and this is one thing that we cannot be lured into. We cannot be lured into an event where the government organize and transport their supporter, and when you, the elected official, turn up to represent, you get trapped in a situation whereby they may want to heckle you or sound you out. You always got to be cognizant of the fact that the person who holds the mic last would always tend to make you look small, embarrass you. So I will not put myself in a position where that will happen. But
Thank
where I
you.
have to represent the people, I will go
You
and
will.
represent the people.
Well,
And
No,
I
no.
know the program is winding down, and as I already have the floor, I will mention the Kokwani Mash. We will have a Kokwani Mash. We have a Mash
yes,
committee.
we were going to
Allowed
go
the
to
people
that.
to put their Mash committee. Allowed people of to put together the Mash committee. I believe the Mash committee have a mixture of both persons from the coalition and the PVP. So because the people of Kokwani is a different breed of people. They want to see their community develop. And I am there to represent them at all levels. And so far, for the flag raising, if you check my page, we had a beautiful flag raising. A lot of people came out there. The children entertained through the cultural shows and so on. So the people looking forward to Kokwani. One of the things what was mentioned to me is that over the years, when the match finished in Jarshik and Tong, they will normally wash the costume and send it to Kokwani. I said that will not happen under me. No used clothes is going to Kokwani. The people of Kokwani is better than that. So I've organized to have my own costume make for the people of Kokwani. We're going to find the funding for it, and so that it can be delivered to the people of Kokwani. They can have fresh costume to put on Mash Day and display their talents. And we're inviting persons to come to Kokwani to experience the scenery, the
Yeah.
lakes, and everything
Yes.
that Kokwani has to offer.
It's
But
tourism.
once I'm vice chairman there, with the councillors that is there, we will continue to represent Kokwani to the best of our ability. And I must say this since I have your platform, that there is issues in Kokwani that have to be dealt with. The first issue I went to Kokwani and dealt with is the matter of teachers, education. We are taking teachers from around this country and take them to Kokwani. And we have a hostel there where the teachers is being housed. I was appalled to go and see teachers and their children living in a room with no windows, no AC. It's like it was than a jail. When they lock up in there, wherever they breathe, air pass, it circulates in there. And that is the first issue I'm dealing with currently. The school, the children have been over the last year have been community was able to start a project where they start building classroom, and the administration came and step in and decide that they're going to additional classroom. Of course, we want to see a new primary school building Kokwani, and we want to see emphasis placed on a new hostel for the teachers so that the teachers can be comfortable. We cannot take in educators from the comfort of their home and treating them less than a dog in the region. Be blown off because now the people understand and realize that they have a representative, that someone who's going to fight for them. So teachers will call me all the time. Nurses will call me all the time. The people will call and they will make their complaint, and I will make the representation. There's other issue with the Kokwani Park Nurses School. I can't understand how we're there for so long and can't recognize that the nurse school is overpopulated. We have people housing 100. How is that acceptable in a country that is producing oil? That we have our children locked up in a room. We have to dollars being wasted.
I think we got a bit of static there. We've lost the vice chairman, Mark Goring. Let's go quickly to Devin Sears, member of parliament, and then we are going to go to the regional chairman of Region 10, Mr. Deron Adams. What's your take on Kokwani, Mr. Sears?
Well, there's a lot of things that needs to happen, especially when it comes to economic stimulation, right? And maybe one of the things that we need to do more of, which myself, along with the regional leaders, are constantly going to be embarking on, is having more regular engagements with these constituencies so as to update them with what is happening in terms of development, and also get feedback, because many of those residents have a lot of suggestions in terms of how they're going to how they want to see their community move forward. And I can tell you, with regards to Kokwani and even those villages along the various rivering areas, Demra, Esquibbo, and Barbies, we have been reaching out to those communities. And even along the line of tourism, we have been engaging the Tushals to find tourism products so that that can be created, developed, build capacity so that they can earn for themselves. Because you see, when you have a government whereby, and we know it, that they want to stymie progress within the region, even when it comes to the distribution of tags to various associations, they've been holding back for whatever reason. The community now have to earn for itself, generate its own money. And even at the regional level, there's provisions in the constitution that allows for that. And I was hoping that the regional chairman could touch on that. For all these years, the region has been renting stage and even some of the houses, right? What happened to all those revenues? Where's the revenue going? If it is that there's a downfall in the budgetary allocation, well, then we can pull from that. and use so that we can execute these commemorative activities and national events. Another thing I want to share with you, I know you have a large following in the diaspora. Don't forsake Linden. Don't forsake Region 10. You might be in a better place or in a position where you can help the community. Work along with the regional council and elected officials so that we can make Linden great again. I know it's sounding like Donald Trump there, but we really need to make Linden great again, especially knowing that the PPP has a tactic stymie progress and mess up our economic stimulation that we're looking for. Moving forward, and I'm talking a little bit fast because of time.
Time,
Moving
yeah.
forward, as we plan for 2024, what is more important now more than ever is everyone needs to jump on board and let's start planning, organizing, planning, and seeking funding. What is so disappointing is that we had no corporate involvement in this March celebration, and that says a lot. The Bangladesh, particularly, I'm calling them out. Bangladesh, particularly, makes a $1 billion profit every year, and this has been consistent over maybe the last 10 years. But they did not have a presence in Mash. But we're saying if you're coming into our community and taking our money, and that, I'm just using them as an example, and it goes beyond that for other corporate entities, well then you have to give back. You have a corporate social
Yes,
responsibility
yes,
to the
yes.
people. If not, if you don't if we money ain't good for you, well take your business elsewhere. But you have to give back. And that is what the regional representatives is going to be pushing for as we go ahead into 2024. We will reach out to the government because they're the custodians of our wealth,
Well,
our
yeah.
taxes, and they have to contribute. So we are going to reach out to them. At all costs, they have to be held accountable and they have to pump money into this region. All right. So
And
with that being said, on that goes back.
we have to reach out to them, but it must not appear as if we're begging for what is
No,
rightfully
no, no, no,
ours
no.
or
Let me just say,
compromising.
Norman. Let me say,
Yeah.
yes, Norman. Just one thing before you go. I want to share this instance with you. So, and this is not public knowledge, but I'm sharing it here nevertheless, and I
Yes.
hope it becomes public. We got an invitation from the Deputy Speaker of the House, Lennox Schumann, who is going to be coming out, and then the joiner party rep is going to go in. So we got an invitation as MPs to take part in. This would be the diplomatic corps. It would should have been the MPs, both on government side and the opposition. We're going to form a football team and play against the diplomatic corps. But here what ended up happening when we suss the whole thing out. If we're going to the diplomatic community with complaints about the government atrocities and what the inequalities of the government towards the Guyanese people, if we go out there and we're playing a game of football with the government against the diplomatic corps, what do you think the diplomatic corps can say? Oh, everything nice in Guyana. And we
Precisely.
took a stand. We took a stand
Not
as
to.
MPs. We made not to take part, even though we know it would have been good because it looks nice and that we're united as one people, but we're not. And
We're
that
not.
that is a clear indication that we are standing up against this whole notion of one Guyana. You can't get one Guyana when people hungry every day. They have no sort of way to earn. They can't develop, grow. We still have a problem here in Linden whereby nurses are going to England. We have a shortage of nurses and medical personnel at the hospital right now. That is a clear indication that things are nice, even though we're all producing nation. Where is the money?
Well, it is time so too, Mr. We will go to the regional chairman for his take on Kokwani, and then we will have 1 minute closing remarks from three of our guests, and then that we will call it a night. But the point is here, Mr. Sears, is that the MPs, the opposition as a whole, would have to lead and would have to lead in a
Yes.
way that tell the people that they mean business. We can complain
Yes.
about what is happening. The nurses are out not getting what they have to get. This
Yes.
school at Kokwani suffering. People are going through all of this. But you are the leaders to push that back. And if
Yes.
you are not pushing it back and you're complaining, perhaps you're not supposed to be there. There has to be a point
Yes.
where you say enough is enough. Desmond Lloyd said it, and so on. Robert Corbyn said it and formed a coalition, and that
Enough
eventually
is
won
enough.
the election. There has to be a point where you say enough is enough. For now, I don't see, with the excesses that has gone beyond Hoyt period, Barnum period, and so on. We are not saying enough is enough. And so you guys have got to be held accountable. Regional Chairman of Region 10, Deron Adams, doing a fantastic job, standing up, putting his shoulders to the wheel. Exceptional regional chairman in this time, perhaps one of the best in the country. He is really, really working hard and standing up. Kokwani, what is your take briefly?
Well, Norman, let me just say this, that I know the people of Kokwani, they are missing the development that occurred under the APNU AFC between 2015 to 2020. Absolutely nothing has happened for Kokwani since this installed regime would have taken office other than handouts, hampers. There is absolutely nothing that is going on. Under the APNU AFC, Kokwani benefited from 24-hour electricity. We would have seen the rehabilitation of the Workers' Club and the other building at the top of Staff Hill is there that mimic that of the Watuka Guest House out here. All of those occurred under the coalition. We'd have seen many of the young people being trained in ICT and employed. Many of the young people there who were employed Barcham Collins College of the Public Service, that this government would have closed down and sent home all of the young people from Kokwani. And so there has been no activity, no developmental programs happening in the Kokwani area. And I know that very soon, as I would have indicated, I believe that Guyana is going to snap elections. And I believe very soon, now that there is a comparative analysis that can be made, the people there will know that the coalition government is the only government that is genuinely concerned about it. The people of Kokwani need to know that in 2022, this government refused to allocate resources, as the vice chairman said, for flag raising ceremony to occur in Kokwani. And it took the councillors, representation of the private sector, and folks in the diaspora for us to pull it off. They withheld funding for that national activity. And so they're not concerned about you. They're not genuinely concerned about you. The only things that are, and the things that the people of Kokwani continue to benefit from, right, those things that they would have reached under the APNU, AFC government, the roads, everything. And so we will continue to make the representation. As I said, when you see a lot of the agriculture products coming in, know that is your regional vice chairman who would have made representation for those things to come, but oftentimes when they are being delivered, of course, he is locked out from those things. And so we will continue to make representation for competent and doctors and for new nurses to be trained once again at the Charles Rosa School of Nursing, an institution that was closed down to new intakes by the PPP, denying nurses who wanted to train from Kokwani. We are going to keep making the representation for them to open back up the facility so that nurses who want to participate in the training of the professional and the other programs can travel to Linden and benefit. Let me make mention as well that it was the APNU AFC who built the magistrate court at Kokwani so that justice can be served to people there, and you don't have to be traveling all the way out to Linden. And in the case when you would have had to collect your bail refunds and your for those who have to collect child support, have to be traveling all the way to West Demerara. It was the APNU AFC who built a magistrate court right there in Kokwani.
Thank you very much, Regional Chairman. Shondell Jerrick is one of the good ladies that usually is on my page making positive contributions. Shondell said, "Yeah, rest yourself. Yeah, ain't ready for no election, much less a snap one. Come again, y'all. They're all over the place, loose. They're loose." That's Shondell Jerrick, fantastic woman. I like Shondell. I really like Shondell. 1 minute for your 1 minute for your closing remarks. And we will begin with Devin. Devin, have you still got your before you go to the closing remarks? So, 1 minute. Do you still have your Men on a Mission T-shirt? Go ahead. Give us your
No, that's a joke.
give us your closing
I
remarks.
have a I have an AC and US in Detroit.
You go.
I have that.
You got that.
Shondell, let me tell you something, right? You see, Linden is a very special place. Sometimes people use classes as a different country altogether. In the face of adversities, right? Linden people ain't stupid, you know. Look, we've been telling them if the government come to share or something, take it, but in no way put in your X. And the Linden folks are not they're not stupid. And that is what the PPP believe that they can do. Come a bribe, throw little crumbs while they eating the steak and lobster and all kind of thing. People ain't stupid. We're going to go to elections sooner or later. And we, the leaders of Region 10, we are staying united and we're asking you, those in the diaspora, those locally and in the Caribbean, wherever you are, to join forces with us. And let's take the fight to the PPP. We can control our destiny. But you see, Chanel, listen, I'm gonna get a little worked up. Enough is enough, like Desmond White said. And we need you, along with everybody on board. Let us formulate our policies and channel our energies towards creating a region and a tongue that we would want our children to benefit from. If we don't fight now, I fear what will happen to our future generations. If we don't stand up now, they don't have a future for any Guyanese child in this country. Thank you.
Regional Vice Chair Mark Goring. 1 minute to give your closing remarks.
Yeah, thank you, Norman. I forgot this, but I must mention for the public that the access to faith, that is one of the premier event around this time of the year. There was a attempt. I was there, my team, my chairman was there, and there was an attempt to shut off the access Juve um, show when they would have invested millions of dollars to bring in a DJ here to entertain the people. And if for Chambers was not they would have been successful in taking action to shut down Juve orally. And the point chairman made is that when they have other people that align with the government, their shows is being allowed to go until March so that they can make enough money to cover their costs. And that is some of the discrimination and disparity we are seeing. I mean, we have to represent every single one in Region 10. But this particular event occurred a few nights ago, Saturday night, and we were there to witness it firsthand that there was an attempt to shut off access event because the police who was there, I am assuming or alleged that probably he get direction to shut off early. And we will witness that come tongue day time, person who keeping events in on the tongue day is aligned to the government. We're gonna witness it for ourselves and see those events go until morning, uninterfered. And we want all in the administration to stop that. Goes to one goes all. If we shut enough parties at two, then two for everybody. Don't shut off someone event because they're not aligned with you or they probably have friends who Asian government. That is discrimination. And we'll continue to fight against that. Not just the social issues, all other issues. And as I pause, I must say, and I speak directly here to the people of Kwani, that your council country represent in every aspect of government will continue to support projects that you guys want us to put forward. We will do all in our powers to make sure that you are being taken care of and you as Region 11, but Region 10, Sub-Region 2. And we will continue to do that representation across aspects and facets of life. And I mentioned that for this report, in terms of agriculture, just give me a little there, Norman. That we will get a representation for you to get us to that ferry to take juice out from the Barbis River to market because we went in there on more than one occasion. I can say it is the most active council throughout this country, and I talk that without any fear of a successful contradiction. And we would have pride in the board. See the amount of produce is being produced there. Talk that since in Barnum time is still there today, show the evidence that the type of agriculture was in the board. The farm market road from Linden Sand Hills, there is one of the biggest agricultural community within this region. We, the coalition government, start that road to take that road to Sand Hills so that they can bring their product out to Linden so that those persons coming from the coast may not flush us with their third hand greens and vegetables. We can have vegetables or provision and fruit from here in Region 10. There's a large amount, and person tend to view Region 10 as just Linden. Region 10 is a vast region. Bordered by all three rivers, and Borbis River is where majority of our agricultural prowess is. Some of the biggest farms in the Borbis River. So let me tell you that in Region 10 we do the more farming here. But because of take away that ferry service, that supply service, it becomes much more expensive for us to bring their produce to Amsterdam and Linden so that they can have a good price for their produce. And we will continue to advocate for that boat. We advocate, we put in the budget for a boat for the agriculture office at Kokwani to provide service for those people of the river. And that was taken out of the budget. We budgeted for a house to be in the satellite village of Rooney so that agriculture officers can be present there so that they can serve the farmers in the river. That was taken out of the budget. And we want people, the people of the sub-region to know that we are making representation, but admission that come in and give you handout is.
We're getting some static there from Regional Vice Chairman Mark Goring. But he's made his points. A brilliant young man. The first time on the program, I see a great future in politics for him. And I really mean that. We are going to close now. I want to say congratulations to German Figuera MP, Devin Sears, MP also of Region 10, Mark Goring, Deron Adams, the regional chairman of Region 10, a powerful fighter. I have to re-emphasize that for what you have done at Linden for the Mash celebrations. We saw the evidence. The PPP was pushed back. Let me say in my closing remarks that the PPP wanted to show that they had support at Linden. They wanted to show that they are making inroads in Linden. And they came there to choose a different route, expecting that thousands of Lindeners would have followed them to Christiansburg. This did not happen. This did not happen. Thousands went to Bear Rock regardless of what the PPP would have been offering people. It is a feather in the caps of our local representatives in Region 10. And I want to say, continue that fight in every sphere of politics and local politics in Guyana. Thank you so much for being here on Voice of the Diaspora. I hope to have you guys back soon. Keep us abreast with what is happening. The struggle continues. Devin Sears, thank you, MP, AFC MP of Region 10, Devin Sears. Thank you for being here on the program. Regional Chairman, Mr. Deron Adams, and also Vice Chairman Mark Goring. Thank you so much. Let me leave you with the work of these gentlemen, and you will see the evidence.